I'm the founder of Up+thrive. I work as a small business coach and business consultant. Really passionate about supporting small business owners, in particular female-led businesses, to develop the mindset they need to achieve their definition of success. Just a really quick intro about me so that you kind of know who's delivering the session today. For those of you who I haven't met, and it was nice to see the list this morning and see some familiar names. But for those of you that don't know me, so in 2003, I started and scaled my own business to become a global business. It was a bit of a roller coaster. There were highs, there were lows, there was challenges and opportunities, failures and successes. And I guess I learnt as much about what not to do as what to do. And in 2015, I exited that business and I moved to Montreal, tasked with the job of setting up the city's first entrepreneurial hub. And it was there that I really saw in Canada the impact that mindset can have on business success. Mindset, a series of skills that I'm sharing on my screen now. And these can all be learnt and cultivated and can have a huge impact on how well we ride the entrepreneurial roller coaster, whether we get overwhelmed or burnt out, or whether we achieve sustainable success. And now, on top of the entrepreneurial roller coaster, we also have the corona coaster. And we need these same skills to help us really redefine and reset for the future. So in the last 9 weeks or so, I've been coaching a lot of business owners and their teams in Cheshire and Warrington, and supporting them really to get to grips with COVID and its impact. And I just wanted to start the session today by just sharing a few insights from that and just see if some of this resonates for you. I think as business owners, we're often working in isolation, and it can be useful just to hear and recognise that some of the challenges that we're facing are being faced by others too. So I've kind of seen very broadly 3 phases. First of all, I think there was the what the hell phase, the kind of lots of rabbits in headlights, supporting people really to let go of what had gone on before, lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. People needed a lot of emotional support and a lot of hand-holding. So I don't know whether you can relate to that at the beginning of COVID, or maybe still to a certain extent now. Then there was the adapting and the pivoting phase. So people were very much focused on how can I make the very best of this current situation? How do I create an online offer? Do I set up home delivery? Where can I access a grant? Should I furlough staff? If so, who should I furlough? So those were the kinds of conversations I was involved in. And then there's the now. And the more progressive businesses that I'm working with are really moving into what William Bridges calls in his book around managing transitions, which gives a really good insight into change if you're looking for something new to read. The new beginnings phase. So it's a key time for revisiting your business purpose, creating a picture of what you want it to look like, and a plan for how you're going to get there. And that's really the purpose of today's session, is to support you to become a bit more of one of those progressive businesses, to start you thinking about how you can best create your new beginning. So you come out from lockdown feeling confident, feeling motivated, and really ready to hit the ground running. And I think we're talking very much here, I hear a lot of the talk of being around not just recovering, but actually redefining and building back better has become a really popular hashtag. So it's really thinking about, okay, how can I build what I did before and make it and improve on it and build on it. So as entrepreneurs, I can relate to the fact that we're all time poor, and I wanted to deliver as much value as I could in 30 minutes. So my aim is to really give you a series of tips and techniques that you can go away with and apply straight away to your business If you've worked with me before, you'll know I take a very pragmatic approach, and I'm all about giving people the know-how to empower themselves to do things for themselves. It's going to be a bit of a, it's obviously we have only got limited time, so I am going to skirt over quite a few things. If you want more, or you think you would benefit from a call with me to talk through anything that I mentioned today in more detail around how to put a plan in place for your business, of course, do get in touch. As I say, some of you I know already, so it's great to see you, and we're already linked in. Others, please do reach out and connect or email me. Bryony, perhaps I could just ask you to put my email into the chat box for people, and then you've got that point of contact. I'm just wondering, I was going to ask if there were any questions at this stage, but everyone's on mute. So if you're not sure about anything at this stage, could you just put it for me in the chat so we know that kind of generally everybody's sort of on the same page. Is there anything coming up there, Bryony, that I need to be
at the moment?
No? Okay, great. Okay, we've got Trish as well waiting to get in. Are you able to let her in?
Yeah, she's just joining.
Brilliant, fantastic, great. Okay, so as Bryony says, feel free to stop me and add any questions in the chat box as we go. I might answer them as we go, but if I don't, I'll certainly endeavour to answer them at the end. So 7 tips for creating your rebrand strategy. Number 1 is about reflecting and recording. So a key part of planning for the future, and what many people do not do, is they don't look at what has gone before. So it's about really learning from your past, and also recognizing what do you have already, and these are what I call your resilience assets. So they're the people you know, the money that you have in the bank, the marketing collateral that you have, and really taking this time to think about, okay, what is it that I can build on? What assets do I have at my disposal? Taking time to reflect on what you've learned over the last 10 weeks, to think about yourself and about your business. Maybe you've had to stop some activities temporarily. What impact did that have on your business, if any? Do you need to, or do you even want to go back to doing that? So on a piece of paper, 3 columns, write down stop, continue, start, and just record your observations and your learnings, and ask yourself, as the quote on the screen says, in the rush to return to normal, which parts of normal are worth rushing back to? What can you stop? What do you want to continue? What do you want to start? And learn from the past in order to think about your future. So that's number 1. Number 2 is be flexible, perhaps not quite to the extent of the lady here on the slide. It's a long time since I've done one of those. But in order to survive, we've had to be flexible. You've had to probably adapt what you offer to meet the current needs of your customers. And I would encourage you to think again, how else can you deliver value and benefit? And really take some time to do some opportunity analysis. And by that, I mean, think about what alternative markets are there that you could be going out to. Try and think laterally, even think globally. Think about the alternative delivery mechanisms. I've seen a rise in business to customer as people have cut out the middleman in the businesses I support. Also, obviously, the use of online platforms. Also, on alternative transactions, how else could you be effectively taking money from people? So membership, subscriptions, that kind of thing. Also, where can you add value to another service? Where else could you be working in partnership or in collaboration on the back of someone else, so that when somebody wants a service, they only have to go to one point of contact, and then they're able to access everything that they need. This need to be flexible is likely to continue to the foreseeable future, and maybe forever. Successful businesses, I think, going forward, are those that are going to be the most agile. So the ones that can adapt and adapt quickly to constantly changing circumstance. The word pivot, though, which we've all heard lots of in recent weeks, actually means a change in strategy without a change in mission. So just keep that in mind. So be flexible, but don't lose yourself in the process. Make sure you really stay true to your values and your purpose of what your business was when you first set out. Number 3, start with the end in mind. So I borrowed this from Stephen Covey, Habit of Highly Effective People. And for me, this is really about setting aside some time to visualize the end result. What's really important to you about where you want your business to be and why? Is it about better relationships? Is it about a greater sense of purpose? Is it about making a difference within a community? Is it about generating income for you and your family? Whatever it is, why is that important? And how will you feel once you've achieved it? But also ask yourself what you might regret if you don't do it. So really getting a clear idea of where you're heading to, and then getting into some goal setting. So things are changing quickly and all the time. So think about both the long term and the short term. Some good questions perhaps to ask yourself. What do you want your business to look like a year from now? What new customers do you want to be working with? What systems do you want to have set up or need to have set up in order to facilitate where you want to get to? What marketing will you need? What things might you want to bring forward that you are planning on doing? What other things might you wish to delay? And use these quieter, and I say that in inverted commas, but use these quieter times to think about how to get things in place for the busier times ahead. Tip 4, don't try to be a superhero. So one of the central laws and one of the key things that I talk to people about when they're trying to make changes in their lives is that to make change doable, then you have to make it easy and as easy as possible. And it's exactly the same when we're dealing with a lot of change. You need to keep it simple. So set a few goals, and by that I mean 3 or 4, and then look at how do you break those goals into smaller steps and even micro steps. So small steps and then break them down again into even smaller steps, almost so that each task will take no more than 30 minutes. And then try the kind of 2-minute rule. And I often get people to think about that in terms of, so if you want to read a book a month, say, rather than setting yourself the goal of I want to read a book a month, just set yourself the goal of reading a page a day. And sure enough, what will happen is probably you will end up reading the book in a month. So it's the same for the goals in our business, just breaking them down. A good tiny behavior is easier to achieve because it creates small wins. Small wins create a feeling of success, and that feeling of success becomes self-fulfilling. It creates a mindset that we can build on for more wins. So don't try to be a superhero and break your goals down. Number 5 is about keeping connected, and for me this is about 2 things when we're talking about this within a sense of keeping visible. Sorry, I was aware that my picture of my ladies there, they're probably not standing 2 meters apart, so it's not a very socially distanced picture, so forgive me for that. But keeping visible and adding value. So Now's a really good time to be connecting with people. People, I've certainly found, seem more willing to talk to you. And also, you don't have to leave your home to do it. So it saves you time and it's saving you money. I know you're not getting that same face-to-face contact as we would be if I was obviously delivering this session to you in the room, of which, of course, you lose a certain, you know, there's a certain things that you lose by not doing that. But it is a good time to be having conversations. I think there's also there's a greater sense that we're all in this together. So collaboration is also on the rise as people recognise if we're to do more than just survive and really thrive, then collaboration might just be the answer. So I'd encourage you to make a list of everyone that you want to work with in the next 12 months. Get in touch with your old clients. It's always easier to build on assets that you currently have than create new ones, and the same for relationships. Check they're okay, offer support and give advice. This is where you're adding value. It's not for work in the short term. It's not for, probably earning an income, but it's really about where you can actually build relationships for the long term. And then also connect with potential future clients. Use social media to share your knowledge and to tell these clients how you've adapted and what your plans are for the future. And that's the piece around visibility. Are we all okay so far? I'm assuming we are. With no feedback, it's hard to get a sense, but I'm assuming you're still all with me. Number 6 is take time out. So don't allow the fear of the unknown to create feelings of panic and urgency. Sometimes when we get into a situation like this of change, it can mean that we actually speed everything up. But actually, often what we actually really need to do is just to stop. And when we do stop, it can be a bit like a bright light coming on in a dark room. You don't have to change everything now. In fact, you don't have to change everything at all. It's about really looking at what needs changing, what can remain, and where do you need to focus your energies. So we're working at the moment with a low grade anxiety. So it's not a high pressured high adrenaline. It's very much just this low, constant kind of feeling that things are different. And this can be really exhausting, especially when it goes on for a prolonged length of time. So talk to your friends and family about how you're feeling. We're not out of the woods yet, so be aware of where your energy levels are at. So we have 3 sets of energy levels, and I often refer to them as batteries, hence the picture on the slide. So 3 batteries: emotional, mental and physical. And when one of those is low, and when one of those is low, the others are also low. So many people think that if my emotional battery is low, then it's okay because my physical and mental battery can be high and I'll be okay. But actually, if one battery is low, then all batteries are low. So you'll know that maybe if you go to the gym, or you used to go to the gym after a tough day at the office, and often the energy that you would have after a good day at the office perhaps just isn't quite there. Okay, think about where your energy levels are at, where the energy in each of your batteries is. Think about what drains your batteries and also what tops them up, and try and manage your energy and not your time. And finally, sorry, this should be number 7. I've miscounted. This is number 7. So 7 tips, and this is the 7th. Be positive. So try and keep future focused. Think big ideas. Talk in possibilities, and don't sweat over the things that you can't control. There's lots going on right now which actually, as business owners, we can't control. There's many external factors. So it's really focusing on those that you can. And I just wanted to kind of share with you a little activity in which you can do that can help you do that. and it's called the circles of concern. So draw 3 circles on a piece of flip chart paper, a bit like they are up on the slide at the moment, and nice and big, so you've got plenty of space to put sticky notes inside the circles. And then on a set of sticky notes, just write down all the things that are worrying you in no particular order. They could be work related, they could be family concerns, it could be about your health, it could be external, environmental threats, doesn't matter what. Put all of those notes, write them all down, a different idea on every note, and put all of them in the circle of concern, so the larger, bigger circle. And then what I'd like you to do is review your notes and start to order them. Place everything that you have the ability to change in the circle of influence. These are things you have the ability to influence, but perhaps aren't in your control. And then place everything that you can do something about into the circle of control. And that's where you then need to focus and put your energy. Focus on what's in your circle of control and focus on getting those done. And if you have a lot of things in your circle of control, then start to prioritize them and start with the smaller things first. Focusing on things that you can control ultimately prevents feelings of overwhelm and frees up headspace. We simply don't have the space or energy to focus on everything that concerns us. So letting go of things we can't control and accepting this is a really big part of building resilience. And as I said before, when we make positive steps, we see success. Success breeds success, and our circle of control begins to expand. So these are a quick summary now that I put up of the different tips. So reflect and record, be flexible, think about how you can add value and keep visible. Revisit your goals and think ahead, so plan for what you're doing. Take some time out and be positive. Any questions? Any thoughts? Anything that people want to share in terms of stuff that's got them thinking about? It's over to you.
Catherine, we've mostly just had comments on sort of how people are managing situations at the moment. I guess one thing that's popped up in my mind is, how do you add value without undervaluing your service? So obviously a lot of people are looking for free things at the moment. So how do you continue adding value when you might not be getting that sort of income at the moment?
Yeah, sure. And I think that's really down to your own personal preference and what you feel comfortable with and where your boundaries are. So what I've certainly done in terms of from both myself and also for the businesses that I'm supporting is getting people to think about, okay, how much can I do? What do I need to do for the short term? And what do I do for the long term? Because adding value is essentially, it's a long-term strategy. It's about showing that you're here for the now, with the view that you will then reap the benefits of that later on down the line. Whereas the short term, what you're doing, we've all got to earn an income, haven't we? We've all got to, pay mortgages, pay rent and things like that in the short term. So it's really making, I think, each individual business owner coming to a decision about what can they afford to do in terms of adding value and putting a limit on that. So is that, to a free webinar to somewhere to support businesses once a fortnight, and you commit and you say, okay, I'm going to do one of those, but once I've done my one of those, that's all I'm doing, and the rest of the time needs to be focused on the things that are going to bring me an instant income. So I think it's about, largely it's around boundary setting, I think. In terms of, I guess also part of your question there, Brian, is about pricing, isn't it? In terms of, should I be offering something for free? That's a question that I've had a lot. And again, I think that has to be down to the individual business owner in terms of what they can afford, and also what they see as what they feel as that they want to make as their contribution. What I would say is have some things for free, but don't have everything for free. So show people the solution, but don't necessarily show them the how, and then they can come to you to get more information and to come to you for the how. Does that help? Does that answer that question?
Thanks. Yes, Catherine. I think, yeah, as you said, it's all about setting those boundaries and expectations up front. So in terms of managing or maintaining your relationships with customers and clients, do you have any good examples, maybe from your own experience or your clients' experience, of how maybe best practice throughout lockdown, how people have been doing that? Is it via social media, newsletters, you know, individual emails to clients? What seems to have worked best for people?
I think there's been a real mixed bag there. I think that's partly because I'm working with a real mixed bag of clients, to be honest. So I've got some clients whereby what they've done, where they've got where they've had quite close knit relationships, long-term partnerships with clients, have literally been picking up the phone and saying, hi, how are you? We're in a bit of a struggle at the moment. Is there anything I can do? Is there anything I can help you with? Even if it's just to have just a bit of a chat, and as one small business owner to another, how can I support? So I think that's worked really well for some people. I think for the perhaps more larger businesses, very much keeping visible through their social media, not from a point of possibly toning down on terms of some of the sell, but very much just pushing out information and sharing information. So I usually encourage people to work on about an 80-20 rule. So 80% is about sharing knowledge and information, and 20% is about sort of selling your service. And that's, again, that seems to have had sort of success for people as well. So I don't think there's one strategy that works for all. I think it's really about finding the strategy that you are comfortable with, and that will work for your business and for the clients that you're reaching out to.
Thanks, Catherine. You have some nice comments here. Ros says she likes manage your energy and not your time. And Rachel has said she can really see how those 7 steps will help her develop and her department develop at work as well. And I guess just a final thing, there's a lot of businesses at the moment that are talking about going back to business as usual. Mm-hmm. Following lockdown. What would you say to those kind of businesses that maybe are expecting things to go back to normal? Would you be telling them to expect the now to continue further on, and just, well, as you said, about controlling what you can now?
Yeah, so what's your question within that?
Just about the ongoing uncertainty. A lot of people are expecting maybe within the next couple of months for things to go back to normal, and are planning along those lines.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple. One, I would question, what do they think normal is going forward now? What do they see normal as? Because I don't think we're going to go back to how things were. I think we've seen a seismic shift in the way people work, and the way people are sort of thinking. So I think but I see that as an opportunity. So I think it's about recognizing where that shift has come, and and how you can create your business to benefit from that opportunity, really. I think there will be, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. If I knew COVID was going to come this year, I would have done a whole host of very different things. But I think one thing is for certain is that their uncertainty will continue to prevail for the foreseeable future. And so the really being able to work on one's resilience and being able to manage those changes, those constant changes, I think is really time well invested for people at the moment. So it's about, yes, putting a plan in place, but it's about having a plan in place that's flexible enough to move and shift with the changes as they occur. And that's not just about enabling your business to be able to flex, but it's also making sure that you and your staff also have the resilience or the mindset, whatever you want to call that, but the skills that they also need to adapt and flex. Because uncertainty and change are definitely here to stay.